sit here on HQ. On April 1st, Josh, you tweeted that you were leaning towards the Browns taking Abdul Carter with the second overall pick, but now you think it's going to be Travis Hunter. Was that April Fool's? You messing with us?
No, it was a realization that I had throughout this process. And I'll tell you what, these teams have done a fantastic job not letting anybody inside of their decision making, because Tennessee, yeah, we think they're going to take Cam Ward at number 1 overall, but we don't know for certain. We could still see them possibly go non-quarterback. We could see them trade down. Those options are still on the table. But for me, at number 2 overall, I've been Abdul Carter this entire process, the pass rusher from Penn State. But the way that Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Browns, spoke about Travis Hunter here in recent days at those owners' meetings in Florida leads me to believe that they hold that player in high regard. They're very analytically driven, and having a player that is capable of playing on both sides of the ball, I think, would factor very highly in that conversation. So yeah, I mean, we're 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, and I'm starting to change my tune, but maybe that's exactly what Cleveland wants.
Do you think Cleveland would use him on both sides of the ball?
I think they would predominantly use him as a wide receiver, and then they would put him in at cornerback in specific situations. If there was a specific matchup that they thought he did well. I will say that if any of these teams were positioned to truly play him on both sides of the ball, I think Cleveland is one of those candidates because they have Martin Emerson on the boundary, but Emerson really hasn't given them the consistent play that you need from that position. So I could see them playing him both ways. I just don't know that that's a feasible long-term solution.
Yeah, I'd love to see it happen, or at least tried every now and then. All right, Josh, I think you only have 10 prospects in this draft with a first-round grade. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Shedeur is not one of them. You've got him projected to go still top 10 because we know how teams feel about quarterbacks this time of year. We've got to get one, and you've got Shedeur going number 9 in your latest mock draft to the Saints. How come?
I think the Saints make a lot of sense. Kellen Moore, obviously, being his first year in that organization, I could see him wanting somebody that he can build around. And I don't think taking a day 2 quarterback and throwing him in the conversation with kind of the mediocrity that they already have there with Derek Carr, with Spencer Rattler from last year, I think they would be more inclined to take a bigger swing at the position and maybe identify a player that can be their quarterback of the future. This is obviously a team that continues to push their salary cap woes down the road. So for them to get a quarterback in the building on a rookie contract starts to allow them to have some of that flexibility in terms of cash spending that they just have not had in recent years. So I think that's an ideal scenario for both parties. Playing in a dome where Shedeur is, a little bit more controlled environment, I think would be best for him. So I think that's a great pairing for both of these parties.
And so, Josh, if the Saints do that, you would see him sitting at least for a year behind Carr?
I think you would have to, just the way that Derek Carr's contract is structured at this point in time. Reasonably speaking, they're not going to be able to get out from that probably for another year or two. So in an ideal world, I think you allow Sanders to kind of sit and develop and, continue his upward trajectory as well. Whereas, you're taking a player in the first round, often that player is being asked to shoulder the pressure of an organization. And if you're in a situation where you have an established veteran like Derek Carr that can allow that player to not absorb all of that pressure, I think it's perfect for Sanders. I think it's ideal for New Orleans as well.
All right, even if the Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers, which everybody now on the planet expects them to do, they could still address the quarterback position with the 21st pick. Looking at your mock draft, that would mean Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe would be there for Pittsburgh, but you have them instead adding a receiver. Who is it?
Yeah, I've given them Luther Burden, a player that has kind of fallen a little bit, I guess, in terms of draft media. He's being projected in the early second round by some folks, and I think that's a byproduct of just not having a need at the position for a lot of these teams, specifically a slot-dominant player like Luther Burden. But I'm of the impression that George Pickens isn't a lock to be on Pittsburgh's roster opening day. So suddenly you're looking for a complement to DK Metcalf. And Luther Burden has that playmaking capability after the catch where he can take a little bit of the pressure off of DK Metcalf, allow him to do what he does well, down the field, and having a veteran quarterback presence like Aaron Rodgers gives you the flexibility to not have to reach for a quarterback there in the first round. Because as you mentioned, I've got 10 first round grades in this class. So Pittsburgh's probably not going to get one of those 10 players anyway. So take a player that you know can contribute to your roster this season. Don't find yourself in a similar situation where you reach for a Kenny Pickett. Stay true to your board. Maybe find that quarterback somewhere on day 2.
All right, if we see Rodgers throwing balls to Burden on social media, we'll know exactly what's happening in Pittsburgh. Only 10 guys, you backed it up here, only 10 guys with first-round grades. How come this draft, in your mind, is so thin?
Yeah, and full disclosure, I'm somebody that does not hand out first-round grades very easily because in our system, it's all pro capabilities. So how many players in this draft class do you see as being a potential all-pro down the road? And I think it's a limited group because so many of these players have question marks. Even the Shamar Stewarts, the Texas A&M pass rusher, who's incredibly athletic, tested off the charts at the NFL Scouting Combine. The production just isn't there. So I think you have a lot of concerns with some of the potential prospects in this draft class. And there's only about 10 guys that I truly feel good about coming in from day one and making an immediate impact for the organization that drafts them. So, yeah, I'm a little bit more conservative in that regard anyway, but I also think it kind of gives an idea as to what these teams might be thinking in this draft class, because I think a lot of teams will want to trade down and take advantage of the day 2 depth in this draft class. But I'm also not sure that there's going to be a lot of teams that are willing to part with those draft assets to move up.
Good explainer there. There's a different threshold for All-Pro and Pro Bowl. So 10 first-round grades of guys who Josh Edwards believes could be All-Pros at some point in their NFL careers. A reminder that Josh has his latest mock draft up and available for you right now. This is a look at the top 10 with Cam Ward at the top going to Tennessee, and then we're just not exactly sure what we'll get starting at 2 with Cleveland. But Josh likes Travis Hunter, that wideout and corner, going to the Browns.
Đồng không đi chuyện này em. Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn công tượng. Hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là quả, mã, cầu. Mọi người hôm nay tượng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là quả, sim. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu tô nhá. Một tí. Mình gấp vào xanh này. Tiếp đến là tô hai bên tai nhá.